One evening in August, my mother, my brother Leo, and I drove home from the beach. The light was pink, peachy, the air alive with the hum of cicadas. While I attempted to walk up the stairs holding all the beach supplies, my mother made her way slowly up the driveway with walking sticks. Upon opening the door, the sounds of one of the first symphonies that my brother and I had ever played drifted out into the summer air. "Oh," my mother exclaimed, "put the walker down. Let's all sit, I want to listen to this." We left the door open and unfolded our chairs on the cramped back porch. We sat in near silence for almost half an hour, listening and existing together, commenting on our favorite parts. My mother says that this was one of the best days of her life. She mentions how my grandfather would have been so delighted to see the musicians we have become. Sometimes I notice that when she says this, a tear rolls down her cheek. My grandfather never played an instrument or went to college. My mother would tell stories about him to Leo and I. His mannerisms, how he would go swing dancing with my grandmother, and his everlasting love of classical music. My mother was similar to him in this way. She played the piano her whole life, all the way up until she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and she became so stressed out with the life that we had been living that her legs can't hike mountains and her hands can't play the piano keys anymore. I tried playing the piano. I wasn't good at it, and I seized up when it came to performing in front of strangers. The same thing happened when I picked up the violin. My auditions were scratchy and I would shake, feeling my face blush and forget every note I memorized. When she saw this happen, my mother would tell the same story. She would tell me that when I was very little, my grandfather would hand me a black stick with white painted at the very end of it. He would then turn on the stereo, and together we would pretend to conduct the orchestra. Through the radio in the old living room, we would laugh and dance to Dvorak's New World Symphony and Beethoven's Fifth. In fragments, I recall the feeling of the baton in my hand and the excitement of waving it. "She's going to be an opera singer one day," my grandfather claimed. And I would say, "No, I want to be a ballerina." I never became an opera singer or a ballerina, but my mother said I already knew that I was going to be a musician. I always thought it was just for fun, playing music in my school orchestra. I didn't think I wanted to perform forever, but I enjoyed it, and that was enough. When I first got started in high school, my friend and I would go for long walks in the woods together almost every weekend. One winter evening, we found ourselves coming back from a hike and staying at my house to escape the cold. We drank hot chocolate in the kitchen while New World Symphony played on the stereo as our background music. We stole secret smiles, our gazes lingering just a little too long for friends. We would continue with our conversation as if nothing had happened, but the sweetness and gentle secrecy had lingered.
So he's like 5 or 6 months.
He said to me, "I can't wait to be there when you win your big music award." A year later, he watched me play the same piece that we had listened to that night. I didn't know what to call that feeling. There was no word for it in my mind yet. I'd heard of platonic love and I'd heard of having a crush, but this was something different. What do you call that, truthfully? It was a new interweaving of thought and understanding, an intimacy of being with someone and knowing them through and through, like a favorite music piece. My grandfather, with his love of classical music, met my grandmother when they were in their 20s. They had been together ever since, and they would play jazz and classical music for my mother. Years later, she would play it for my brother and I on the piano. Now, I play the violin and the harp, and I conduct music to share with the people I love, even if some of them are the ones I must eventually say goodbye to.